You know, Top Gun Maverick ended up being one of the biggest hits of the year. And, there were a number of doubters out there who thought, this movie is far too old. It's a little too late. Flying fighter jets in the era of drones and unmanned piloting, can it really work? And I admit to a degree, I was one of those. Like I was one of the people that thought it's a little too late. This is a sequel that should have come out 15 years ago, is one of the thoughts that I had predominantly. But then about a year and a half ago, they showed us the first 18 minutes of the movie at CinemaCon in Las Vegas, a year and a half ago. And Aaron Cummings and I were like, guys, I don't know if the rest of the movie is going to be as good as the first 18 minutes. But oh my God, the first 18 minutes are amazing. Fast forward then to the next CinemaCon, and they showed us the whole damn movie. And we all came out of that in April going, oh my God, this thing was incredible. And the thing went on to make, I think, just shy of $1.5 billion at the box office, one of the biggest hits of all time. But more significantly than that, and we talked about this a lot on the show back when it was, starting its box office run, it was the movie that didn't bring people back to the theater, because I think Spider-Man No Way Home was really the first film that made just shy of $2 billion. That was the first really huge pandemic era or post-pandemic era mega hit, right? But even though that movie made a whole ton of money, the 40 and over crowd weren't really coming back. The studies and the analytics showed that they weren't really coming back en masse. And Top Gun Maverick was the movie that really brought that all-important box office demographic of 35, 40 years and older back to the movie theaters again. And that accomplishment did not go unnoticed by some of the icons in the business, including Steven Spielberg. Because it's being reported today, there was a video clip of this that came out, that Steven Spielberg went up to Tom Cruise, this great thing, and literally told him and said to him, "You saved Hollywood's ass." And he said, "You literally saved the theatrical industry. You saved the movie industry." And now, if you're like me, when Steven Spielberg said that, at first I thought, well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. He had a big hit movie, but really, again, if you go back, the importance of that Spider-Man movie cannot be understated. Huge. But if you don't get the casual, money-paying, 35, 40, 45 years and older audience back into the theaters, then the only movies that are going to make money are the big comic book movies. That's it. Top Gun Maverick came out. It got the younger audience out, and it got the older audience back, and it got people starting the process of coming back into the movie theaters. And oh my God, March is coming. And March is going to be a big month for movies. The whole rest of this year is going to be huge. And so you know what? While at first I thought, come on, Steven, that's a little bit of hyperbole. But it might not have been. He might actually be completely accurate. The importance of this film can't be understated about what it did just for the entire industry. And oh, by the way, it just happens to be a really great movie too. Anyway, Rob, you heard Steven Spielberg's comments. Hyperbole, is he on the money? I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, a little bit of hyperbole. Steven Spielberg can be a good hype man when he needs to be, but I think there's also truth to that, because, the thing about Top Gun Maverick is it was a film that was designed from the beginning as a theatrical experience.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about on the show for years, they held that film back on purpose. They could have released it to streaming during the pandemic. It was supposed to come out. They pushed the release, I believe, 2 years from the time it was supposed to originally come out. What a great move, because they knew what they had. And I think that they knew that, look, well, other people, I think Christopher Nolan, they released Tenet during the pandemic, which damaged his relationship with Warner Brothers irrevocably. And the fact that Paramount, they needed the money. They said, nope, we're going to hold off. And that was a smart move. I mean, I love it when Hollywood makes moves. And of course, I'm sure between Tom Cruise and Jerry Bruckheimer and Chris McQuarrie and Tom Cruise are in the middle of new Mission Impossible movies, they put their foot down. Because McQuarrie's also writer-producer on Top Gun. They didn't want to disappoint their three musketeers over there. So they made a call, and that call turned out to be very lucrative.
Yeah, and to be fair, we spend a lot of time on our shows and shows like ours pointing out and going hard when Hollywood makes mistakes. And we should, and we do. But then I think it's important when a really thoughtful decision made with a lot of foresight gets made. Because, yeah, Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, they put their foot down. Paramount still could have put it on streaming if they really, really want to. But they listened to Tom Cruise. They listened to Christopher McQuarrie. They listened to their advisors. And they were like, you know what? We need product, but you're right. This is a movie that we think can do well. We are not going to go with this whole what Warner Brothers is doing with their day and date release on streaming. We're going to hold off. And man, did it pay off.
And not only that, but, the director of Norbit is now the head of Paramount. And he's a guy that I'm sure was pressured to do all kinds of different things. But if you look since he took over, Paramount has been a powerhouse studio. They've had success after success after success. Taylor Sheridan's success on Paramount Plus. By the way, Picard season 3 drops tonight. And they have made great moves. And I think Paramount deserves a lot of credit.
Because it wasn't that long ago, Chris, that for a long time, for at least 7, 8, 9 years, the basic narrative around Paramount had been the one studio that's in trouble is Paramount.
Yeah.
Paramount's is struggling, but other than Transformers, they've had nothing and blah, blah, blah.
They had Chinese money fall through. That was a huge blow to the studio.
But you're right. Like the last while, we've been talking more about how they have really seemed to turn things around. And one of the big parts of that was the decision to make sure Top Gun Maverick was a theatrical release. And Steven Spielberg is saying it saved the industry. Chris, you heard Spielberg's words. I mean, I don't know if he's completely literally right or partially right. I don't know. How do you take them?
There's definitely merit to the statement, right? Spider-Man No Way Home obviously ushered in so many people to movie theaters, but it was Top Gun Maverick that really got those who were recalcitrant to go back to the actual cinema, the over 40 crowd, to show up, get those butts in seats, and be out there again. So I do think there's actual factuality to this statement. Did it save cinema as a whole? Sure, that's a little bit of inflation there, but it definitely saved a lot of theaters. And to Paramount, too. I mean, Paramount knew it had a hit on their hands. At CinemaCon, they were just riding high, and they have such great backing from their exhibitors now, too, because they really believe in movies being seen in movie theaters. And I think that gamble really has paid off for them, too. Not only do all the people who they work with love them, love having relationships with them, but they've waited out these films that deserve to be on a big screen. And y'all know Top Gun Maverick is not my favorite movie. This is beautiful on a big old IMAX screen, on a big old Dolby screen. Like, you got to go see this in a theater. And I think they just kind of brought back that idea of movies being magical. And that paid off in really big ways.
And hey, guys, question is for you. Steven Spielberg gave Tom Cruise a big old hug and said, you saved Hollywood's ass. You saved the theatrical industry. Maybe not literally true, but I mean, there's a good amount of truth to that. How do you see it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up in the way that you know you can. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you, because when you're feeling at your best, the challenges that life throws at you don't disappear, but you're more prepared to take on those challenges. Guys, you know I've been saying for a long time that we need to start prioritizing our mental health as much as we do our physical health. When we dedicate ourselves to going to the gym and looking after ourselves, we see that as a great step forward for us physically. Well, it's time for us to start taking care of ourselves mentally as well. So if you're feeling it's time to give therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea.